Good afternoon, this is Terry from the Frugal Connection. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make some lentil meatballs. These are quick and easy, delicious. And then we're also going to make some homemade marinara sauce to go over the meatballs. And I want to invite you along with me while we make these. All right, so the only piece of equipment we need to put these together is a food processor, and then you can use an air fryer or the oven to bake them. It's made with just a few simple ingredients, just basic pieces of equipment for your kitchen. And that is the point of my channel, is to show you how to eat plant-based whole food, to offer you some recipes and show you that it doesn't need to cost an arm and a leg, and they are very simple to make. Now for this one, what I'm going to do is I am adding, well, before I start with my lentils, I have in here 1 cup of rolled oats, and I'm going to put those in there, and I'm just going to give them a couple pulses just to break them down a little bit. All right, I did 10 pulses. Now to this, I am going to add in my lentils. I have 3 cups of lentils that I cooked earlier. I'm also going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. If you don't have Italian seasoning, you can do like 1/2 basil, 1/2 oregano. You could add some marjoram. You can basically use whatever you want. I'm going to add in about a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, because I didn't add any salt to my lentils earlier. I'm going to add in about a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast, and that'll give it that cheesy flavor. And one more ingredient, which I forgot to get out of my refrigerator, is some flax meal. I'm going to mix my flax meal and putting in the equivalent of 1 tablespoon of flax meal with 3 tablespoons of water, and that will be my egg replacer in this recipe. Whoops, I added too much. So I'm actually going to add in another tablespoon of flax meal. Okay, so I'm making basically the equivalent of 2 eggs. Let me let that sit for a second while I put this away. All right, I'm going to add my flax eggs right into the mix. And I am going to now pulse this all together. Alright, I want to scrape down the sides a little bit just to kind of reincorporate all that in there. If you don't want oats, you could add quinoa to this. You could add a good whole grain flour, whatever you want to use, breadcrumbs. All right, I think this will do it. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer this to a bowl just so I make it easier to scoop out, and I will meet you back here for the next step. I'm just going to take my cookie scoop, and I am just going to take them and scoop them right onto this platter. And the reason I want to do this step is because I'm going to throw them in the freezer for about probably 10 minutes just to let them kind of solidify and firm up a little bit before I put them into my air fryer. I'm going to move on to our marinara sauce, and normally what I do, like I pre-sauteed my onions and my garlic just because I had already had the pan out, I was already using it, and I knew I was going to be filming, so I went ahead and did that step. Normally what you would do is that you just start by making the marinara, and I start by sauteing onions and garlic, and then I'm going to add in my other vegetables. My marinara is heavy on vegetables because I want to get them in as much as possible. But what I'm going to do, because carrots take a little bit to grind up in the food processor, I'm just going to put my carrot in there first. You can use whatever vegetables you want in your marinara. The whole point of this is plant-based, whole foods. Plant-based is a big part of that. So I do eat lots of vegetables, and I try to get them into different dishes as much as possible. So I've added my carrot to my food processor, and now I'm just going to give this a pulse until it's finely grated. Now my marinara is going to be a little bit on the chunky side because I have all these vegetables in it. If you don't want it that way and you want it nice and smooth, you can add it to a high-speed blender after it cooks and just blend it until it's smooth. Or you can use a food processor. If you don't have a high-speed blender, use what you have. I've made do with very simple pieces of equipment for years and years. I didn't go out and buy fancy stuff. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing with my zucchini. I just want to make sure it gets pulsed into small pieces. If you don't like zucchini, leave it out. You can use yellow squash. You don't have to use squash at all. You could use baked sweet potato and just put some sweet potato in it. That's what I love about this marinara. You can use anything. All right, so now what I'm going to add to this also is the onions and garlic that I already sauteed. I'm going to open up a can of my diced tomatoes because I'm pulsing them down into sauce. It doesn't really matter that it's diced tomatoes and not tomato sauce, but I canned these this summer. All right. All right, and I'm going to just blend this together. And now I'm going to add in my spices. All right, I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon of black pepper, a half a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. If I don't have Italian seasoning, I just will add in, actually I'm going to put 2 in there of this. I would add in a teaspoon of basil, a teaspoon of oregano. I'm going to add in a half a teaspoon of garlic powder and a teaspoon of salt. Again, you can leave the salt out if you want. I didn't salt my tomatoes when I canned them. It was just plain diced tomatoes with no added anything except lemon juice. So I am adding a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to add the rest of this tomato paste. And if I need more, I can get some more out of the cupboard. This is a tablespoon. But because it's marinara and it doesn't need to be super thick like tomato sauce would, I'm not going to worry about it. All right, friends, can you see it? It's nice, it's chunky, which I like it like this. It's marinara sauce, it's not tomato sauce, so to me, that's all those delicious vegetables in there. You could have added some spinach, you could have added different kinds of squash, you could add some sweet potatoes, butternut squash, whatever you have, whatever you like. Now what I am going to add to this is 1 bay leaf. I'm going to add 1 bay leaf in there. Okay, I'm going to take this over to the stove and let that simmer. And we're going to move on to baking our meatballs. Okay friends, I want to show you what these meatballs look like. They turned out perfect. I'm just going to put some marinara sauce on them and we'll give them a taste test. I baked these in my air fryer at 400 degrees for about 6 minutes. Then I flipped them and did another 3 minutes. They turned out perfectly, and I want to give these a taste test. What I did was I put some of our marinara sauce on top, and I also did a sprinkle of the nutritional yeast on top as well. So let's see what these taste like. Really good. They're very delicious. The marinara sauce is perfect with them. So I'm very thankful that I decided to add the marinara sauce. But you could also use these on a sandwich. Just add a drizzle of sauce on it, so you end up with like a meatball hero, but only with lentils. And I hope you will give this one a try. This is going to be my dinner tonight. And I will put the link down below in the description box under this video, which will take you to my website, thefrugalconnection.com, and there you can find the recipe. So the link will take you right to the recipe. And again, I hope you try some of these recipes. You'll find that eating plant-based whole foods does not have to be boring. It's not just eating salads all day. It's eating a lot of different types of vegetables and fruit and whole grains. And when you learn to cook this way, you can get a little bit adventurous in the kitchen, and it's fun, and it's nutritious, and it's delicious. So I hope you'll have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.